Imagine being trapped. Behind you, the most powerful army on earth, thundering closer with every heartbeat. In front of you, an impassable sea, its vast dark waters stretching to the horizon. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. This was the terrifying reality for Moses and the Israelites. Let's dive into one of the most incredible stories ever told. For 400 years, the Israelites had been slaves in Egypt, their lives filled with hardship and toil. But a leader had risen among them, Moses, armed with a staff and a divine promise. He confronted the mighty Pharaoh, demanding, "Let my people go." Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he refused again and again. 10 devastating plagues swept across Egypt, each one a powerful message, until finally a broken Pharaoh relented. The Israelites were free. Their journey began with hope and celebration. Hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children, a nation on the move, leaving behind generations of bondage. They weren't just walking away from slavery. They were walking towards a promised land, a future of freedom. But their joy was short-lived. Back in his palace, Pharaoh's grief turned to rage. He couldn't stand the thought of losing his entire workforce. "Why did we let them go?" he roared, his voice echoing through the empty halls. He summoned his army, the elite of the Egyptian military, 600 of his finest chariots. Cavalry and soldiers, all sworn to bring the Israelites back or crush them. The chase was on. The pounding of hooves and the rumble of chariot wheels filled the desert air. The Israelites, traveling on foot, were slow. They soon found themselves cornered, their backs to the vast expanse of the Red Sea. Panic erupted. The sound of the approaching army grew louder, a terrifying drumbeat of impending doom. People started to cry out, their fear turning to anger. They turned on Moses. "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die?" They shouted, "It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die here." Their newfound freedom felt like a cruel joke. Moses stood firm amidst the chaos. He raised his voice above the cries of fear, his faith a beacon in their despair. "Do not be afraid," he declared. "Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then a command came from the heavens. Moses was to raise his staff and stretch his hand out over the sea. As Moses lifted his hand, a powerful east wind began to blow. It wasn't just a breeze, it was a gale, a howling, relentless force that tore at the surface of the water all through the night. Slowly, miraculously, the impossible began to happen. The waters of the Red Sea began to part. They didn't just recede. They piled up on either side, forming 2 massive, shimmering walls of water. Between them, a path of dry land emerged, a corridor through the heart of the sea. Can you imagine the awe and terror of that moment? To look to your right and your left and see towering walls of liquid with fish swimming as if in a giant aquarium. Hesitantly at first, then with growing courage, the Israelites stepped onto the seabed. They walked, a nation passing through the impossible, protected by walls of water under a starlit sky. All night they marched, their fear replaced by a profound sense of wonder. Pharaoh's army arrived at the shoreline, and without a second thought, they charged into the sea passage, confident in their power. The chariots thundered down the dry path, their wheels churning the sandy ground. But their pursuit was not so easy. The wheels of their chariots became clogged with mud, slowing them down, creating confusion and chaos within their ranks. Just as the last of the Israelites set foot on the opposite shore, as the sun began to rise, a new command came to Moses. "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Moses obeyed. He stretched his hand out over the sea, and the mighty walls of water collapsed. The sea returned to its full force with a deafening roar, swallowing the entire Egyptian army. Chariots, horses, and soldiers were swept away in the churning torrent. Not one of them survived. On the far shore, the Israelites watched in stunned silence. Their oppressors were gone, vanquished not by their own strength, but by a power far greater. The fear that had gripped them for generations was washed away. They were truly, finally free. They broke into song, a spontaneous eruption of praise and gratitude, their voices rising to celebrate the miracle they had just witnessed. It was a moment of profound transformation, a story that would be told for thousands of years as a testament to faith, deliverance, and the power of hope in the face of impossible odds. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more incredible tales from history. See you next time.